Oh, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Ruby, this is Ruby Red, and today we are playing my TBR game, Tic Tac TBR. If this is your first time seeing one of my Tic Tac TBR episodes, the playlist is linked below so you can check that out, but a quick overview of how the game works. It's more a way for me to have some guidance in picking my reads for the month and not setting up a strict stack of books that I will definitely read this month. I basically pick 9 prompts to go into a tic-tac-toe sort of board, 3x3, and then throughout the month I try to read books that are going to fulfill those prompts. Throughout the month I read books to try to get 3 in a row, and then for every 3 in a row I get a reward to help me out a little bit the next month. And if I don't get any 3 in a rows, there's no punishment, we just try again next month. So it's pretty low-key, it's not high stakes, it's just a little bit of fun. And if you're interested in playing your own version of this game, I have a template linked below to a Google Sheets that you can save to your own Google Drive, and you can adjust the prompts and play the game on your own. There's instructions and everything. If you have any questions about that, let me know in the comments. I will try to help you out. So it's a new year, if you didn't know, it's 2022 now. So I did go ahead and kind of revamp my prompts list. I shuffled them again, and I also got rid of some that I felt like I was getting all the time and I was kind of sick of, and I added in a couple of new ones, and I just kind of like shifted things around a little bit. And I am working on creating a year-long sort of challenge with one of my friends. So once we get that figured out, I will include those prompts in the list as well. So that's where we're at. Hopefully we're gonna get to see some prompts we've never seen before. If you missed my December TBR video, I did it a little bit differently. Instead of picking prompts, I put in actual titles of books that I wanted to get to before the end of the year. So this is what that board looked like. The 8 books, and then Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is in the middle square because that's from my 30x30 challenge, and I can't remove it from the board until I read it. But anyway, here's what happened. So first I'm gonna cross off that free space because I read or I listened to In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, which I thought was fine, and I kind of felt like if you've read some other Ruth Ware thrillers, you'll recognize pretty much everything that happened in this book, even though I think it's one of her older books. But it just like, maybe I would have liked it better if I had read it before all of her other books, but there was just so much that I was like, we've already had this. I don't know, I wasn't really impressed. It was fine, but that's my free space. Then I finished The Maid by Anita Prose. I had an arc of this from NetGalley, and I did have a fine time reading it, but I think at the end of the day, cozy mysteries are really not for me. I kind of knew that going into this, but I thought this one may be different, but it wasn't. And then I finished Mansfield Park, which I started in August, but I finally finished it. I liked it a lot. I liked the second half a lot better than the first half. I felt like the first half was so not much was happening, and that's why it took me so long to read, but then the second half I read a lot quicker, and I really enjoyed, even though I thought the ending was hilariously non-existent. And then that's basically it. I didn't finish anything else from this board in December. I did DNF The Land of Big Numbers, which was a short story collection. I just was not like loving it. I read 70% of it, but I just did not want to pick it up again, so forget it. In 2022, we are not afraid to give up on a book that we don't like, no matter how much time we've already put into it, okay? And I also finished Northanger Abbey on January 1st. So I, like, if it was gonna help me get a 3 in a row, honestly, I probably would have just given it to myself. But because it's not gonna do anything here, like, it's not part of this. But even though we're not getting a reward for anything that happened in December, we did have a reward in November that is carrying over. So in January, I will be able to cross off a prompt if one of my friends has read a book that fits that prompt. I will be reaching out later in the month to see what I need and what anybody might be able to offer me in that regard. So that's December. It's over, it's done, we're never gonna talk about it again. Now, before we get into January and picking my prompts, I just wanna say that my TBR shelf, my owned TBR, is getting a little bit out of hand, because this is the shelf that we have, and I can't really fit anything else on it. I've already had to do a lot of shuffling just to like get it all on there. So I'm going to try to prioritize these books for January, and hopefully free up some space. I was given a couple of books as gifts, but for the most part, I just have been doing some shopping. There is a little bit of a haul in my Portland vlog, which will be coming out sometime this month. But yeah, shelf is the priority. Okay. All right, now let us begin. All right, we are starting this month with 116 prompts in my prompt list, and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is still in the middle of the board because it's a book from my 30 by 30 list that I still have not read. But I am hoping to get to it soon. There was no way I was going to tackle it in December when I already was trying to read 2 Jane Austen books. That's just a little bit too much classics for me. But okay. 91. Okay. A classic. Oh god. Okay, so I can't double up any prompts, so even if I were to read Jane Eyre, it would only count for Jane Eyre and not a classic, but maybe I'll get to that. As far as my shelf, okay, there are 2 options that I had on my shelf. The first is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I think this is a classic, and it's a book that is on my 30 by 30 list, so maybe I'll read this. My friend Aubrey gave me this book, and I am so grateful and also excited to read it. I have actually no idea what this book is about. I did at one point, and that's why it's on the list, but I don't remember. So I would be going into this kind of blind, which is really fun for me. So that's definitely an option. The other option I have is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is also on my 30 by 30 list, so either of these would be a great help because I am technically behind on that list. But I'm extremely intimidated by this, although I'm hoping to be able to buddy read it with my friend Kayla. So Kayla, let me know if you have time for this month. I honestly don't know if I do, but let's chat about it. And now let's pick our next prompt. Okay, it doesn't fit. That's fine. No sexual violence. I will be honest, I thought I got rid of this prompt because we've seen it so many times, but it's here again. That's fine. It's always a delight to read something, especially something contemporary that actually doesn't contain any forms of sexual violence in it. I just want to be, I don't know, like calling attention to how many books have what I think is gratuitous or like absolutely non-essential sexual violence in them. Like, there are so many other things that can happen to a person, especially to a woman. There are so many other ways to have a character like develop or grow or like be traumatized or whatever you want. Like, it does not have to be like that. And I'm sick of reading books like that. As far as books on my shelf, I think that a lot of my nonfiction options will probably not have sexual violence in them. But as far as some specific options, I have Year of the Monkey by Patti Smith. I just bought this. And I just read a book of her poetry that I really liked, and I have been wanting to read more of her long form stuff. So excited to have this and hopeful to read it soon. And I also have Upstream by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of essays by poet Mary Oliver. I think I'm trying to get into poetry right now. And although this is essays, I'm hoping that they will still be poetic, and maybe from there I'll feel more comfortable diving into Mary Oliver's actual books of poetry. Both of those I feel like will probably lack sexual violence. Here's hoping. Let's pick our next book. Prompt. 99. A fantasy. Oh! Okay. Wow. Why is that so shocking to me? I'm floored. This month I am planning to read The Shadow of the Wind. I think that has like some magic in it. I don't know that it's like fantasy. Maybe it's more like magical realism. The only things on my shelf are honestly not things I'm super excited about right now, so I probably won't end up reading either of these, but just to share some of the books that are like on the horizon for me. I have A Thousand Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is another Greek myth retelling style story. It's about the forgotten women of the Trojan War, and I'm sure that it includes many gods and goddesses, and for that reason I will count it as fantasy over historical fiction. And then the other option is, of course, to start another Robin Hobb trilogy. I have Ship of Magic here, but this book is enormous, and I just don't want to start off the year 800 pages. So not likely, but know that I'll read this eventually. Next. Okay, a short list from last year. This could be any of the many book awards. I did read the Women's Prize shortlist last year, but I could take a look at the Kirkus or National Book Award or the Booker Prize, or I mean, there's a lot of book awards. So I'm really not sure that any of these are gonna fit that requirement. Maybe this book, Erosion, was up for something nonfiction, and maybe The Arbonaut was. Those are only two very recent publications, I think, that are on this shelf. So if I do fulfill this prompt, it will probably be with a library book. Someone else's. I think that's supposed to be someone else's TBR. I don't really understand why the formatting has betrayed me today, but I will fix it for next time, and just hope we don't get any more long prompts. But I'm pretty sure that's someone else's TBR, in which case I would just watch some more TBR videos for January and pick a book that someone else is going to be reading. So I really can't speak to that this time. And you'll just have to stick around to find out. Let me know if any of these are going to be on your TBR. That'll be helpful. On my shelf. What a gift. This prompt invites me to read a book that is on my shelf. I put this prompt in the list a couple of times because there's a lot here. So, okay, I've just picked two books that I think are like the most likely that I would like love to pick up from this shelf that are not from any of the other prompts. So first of all, I have this book, Cinnamon and Gunpowder by Eli Brown. This is about a chef who's kidnapped by pirates in the 18-somethings. It's fiction, but it just seems like such a fun little ride, and maybe like a great way to start out the year with something maybe like about food, which I love books about food, lighthearted, there's pirates. I don't know, I think it'll probably be a blast, and so that's a book on my shelf I would love to read. The other one is another Patti Smith book. This is Devotions, which is a book of her poetry, but it's also, it's mostly prose, and it's I think maybe about poetry and like about writing. So I am looking forward to reading this, and it's really small, so could be just like a fun thing to do on an afternoon, you know? So those are two options, two likely candidates for an on my shelf pick that's not fitting another prompt. 100. Wow. Book club book. Oh, amazing. Okay. I will do this prompt. I will be reading my book club book this month, which is actually a book that was on my December TBR too, but I didn't read it in December, but I have time still to read it in January, and I'm actually probably going to start it later today, and that is The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante. I don't know what this is about, but it's my book club book, and I know that it's just been adapted. It's on Netflix, so I'm gonna read it and then watch the movie and then talk to my book club about it. That one is happening. Okay, the final prompt is name in the title. I have nothing. There's no names in any titles on my shelf or on my general radar, right? Yeah, the only thing I can think of is Jane Eyre, but that's a different prompt. So, all right, that one seems the least likely. So maybe it's also the most likely thing that I'll be asking you for. So if anyone's reading a book with a name in the title this month, just keep me in mind, okay? And that's kind of it. So I do have my one reward that's on deck. I do have a couple of things I think I'll definitely get to, and a bunch of things that are just, so that's that for my Tic Tac TBR for January. I'm excited to be reading. I feel like I'm feeling good, okay? 2022 is gonna be better than last year. I'm deciding, I'm telling you, it's gonna be better, okay? Thanks for watching. Please let me know down in the comments what you're gonna be reading this month, especially if I have any of those books, because I would love to read something from your TBR. And I just like to know what everyone's reading in general. So I hope I'll see you back here next month for February's TBR, and so that I can tell you how I did, but also I hope that I see you before then. Happy New Year. Goodbye.